What if one of the greatest football talents just stopped playing? And not because of a career-ending injury or old age, but from missing a plane because he was too drunk to even purchase a ticket. It's the rise and fall of a man who had it all, and lost it all. The fame, the fortune, and the glory. A player who almost touched legendary NFL status, but instead became a convict and a media nightmare, and lauded himself as being an alcoholic and a joke in the NFL. A player so dominant that he became the face of college football overnight. But with all the talent in the world, some demons are too strong to outrun. He quickly won the prize of the worst alcoholic in NFL's history. What happens when superstardom collides with self-destruction? An adventurous teen who loved risks, but sometimes took his risks too far, especially after discovering humanity's favorite vice, alcohol. What happens when the life of the party doesn't know its closing time and spirals out of control? This is the story of how one of the most hyped quarterbacks of his generation became one of the biggest disappointments in NFL history. Before the fame and glory, scandals, and headlines, there was just Johnny Manziel, a kid from Texas with a cannon for an arm and confidence that couldn't be matched, quickly becoming one of the #1 high school quarterbacks in the country. We are talking Texas football here. That's like baseball in New York. It's more than a sport. It's a religion, a way of life, the only way. Counted for more than 5,000 yards, 75 touchdowns, and his coach Kevin Sumlin said, "What you don't want to do is kill that emotion and that passion, because I think it's what separates Johnny from a lot of different players." Yep, if this kid plays his cards right, then he could become a legend in no time. They called him Johnny Football for a reason. A quarterback so electric he could turn any broken play into a highlight reel. If you gave him an inch, he would take 100 miles. But it wasn't until his freshman year at Texas A&M that a new star was born for the world to see, Johnny Football. In 2012, as a redshirt freshman, Manziel took the college football world by storm. He threw for 3,706 yards and rushed for 1,410 more, for a total of 47 touchdowns. His dynamic play style had never been seen before. He wasn't just playing the game, he was rewriting the rule book. ESPN, SportsCenter, and every major sports network couldn't get enough of him. His highlights flooded social media. His swagger, confidence, and reckless playing style made him a fan favorite. Unlike traditional quarterbacks who stayed composed in the pocket, Manziel thrived in chaos. He would scramble, dodge defenders, and make impossible throws on the run.
Retreats! Look at this! He's still on his feet! And heaves it deep.
And after this, according to Johnny, this is still one of the best passes he has ever thrown in his life. Texas A&M shocked the world of football with that upset victory over #1 Alabama, and it cemented Johnny's status as the biggest name in college football. The hype machine went into overdrive. This wasn't just a win for Johnny. This event earned him the title of the first freshman in history to win the Heisman Trophy. From that moment on, Johnny Manziel was more than just a quarterback. He was a celebrity. But with fame came pressure, and with pressure came distractions. At the end, slowly but surely, this fame was getting into Johnny's head, a bit more than anyone would ever expect.
The Johnny drama.
New trouble for former Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel.
His list of awards seems just as long as his list of controversies.
Manziel was a star, and he knew it. But while his highlight reels were being played on repeat, the warning signs were already there. Even before the Heisman, he had run into legal trouble. One wild night in 2012 nearly sidelined Johnny Manziel's career before it even started. Things went from bad to worse to worst. In a chaotic sequence of events, he was hit with 3 misdemeanors in a single night. For providing a fake ID to police after trying to talk his way out of trouble. The chaos started when his friend was arrested for using racial slurs, igniting a bar fight that quickly spiraled out of control. As tensions escalated, Manziel found himself in a physical altercation with a man twice his size, only to be tackled by police and thrown in the back of a squad car. The incident made headlines nationwide, fueling concerns that his off-field antics were already overshadowing his on-field brilliance. This wasn't even the worst of it. It was a taste of what was to come. Manziel lived fast and played faster. As Johnny Manziel entered his sophomore season, his lifestyle became even more reckless. Manziel doubled down on his lifestyle, jet setting to Vegas, Miami, and LA on weekends. He lived like a celebrity rather than a college athlete. He was drinking and partying before games, rubbing shoulders with stars like Drake and LeBron James, and fully embracing his status as a sports icon. But behind the scenes, controversy brewed. He was caught for selling autographed merchandise for thousands of dollars, a blatant NCAA violation that put his eligibility and future in jeopardy. But when the NCAA started looking into where his money was coming from, Manziel had an answer ready. It was a lie, but one that worked. With just a half-game suspension, the NCAA backed off, and Manziel kept cashing in. But here's the thing. Manziel wasn't just living the party lifestyle off the field. He was bringing it onto the field, too. Somehow, despite barely practicing, barely studying game film, and partying until sunrise, he continued to dominate. His coach said that his iPad had literally 0 hours of game film watched. 0! And all of this made him feel invincible somehow. But all immortals have a weakness, even showing their darkest sides to the world. The 2014 NFL Draft was supposed to be the night that boosted his career even higher. Instead, it became the first sign that the hype surrounding Johnny Football was starting to fade. Teams hesitated, questioning his work ethic, his off-field antics, and his ability to handle the responsibilities of an NFL quarterback. Scouts were uneasy about his maturity, and coaches weren't convinced he had the discipline to lead a franchise. As pick after pick went by without his name being called, Manziel, once projected to be a top selection, even possibly in the top 5, grew visibly anxious. He wasn't even the first QB drafted that year. Cameras caught him repeatedly texting his agent, desperate for answers, desperate for validation. Finally, at pick number 22, the Cleveland Browns took the gamble.
With the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel.
The relief on Manziel's face was evident as he held up his new Browns jersey and flashed his signature money gesture, a cocky symbol of the lifestyle that had defined him in college. Something he would see a lot of this year, but from defensive linemen after they sacked him over and over again. But the real question lingered. Was the money about to run out? After getting into the NFL, people were relieved. Maybe this guy is going to heal from his addiction. But these were just our deepest hopes that were never meant to be fulfilled. But the NFL was an entirely different beast than college football, one that demanded dedication, discipline, and an unrelenting work ethic. Manziel had none of these. From the start, his lack of commitment was glaring. He missed team meetings, often arriving late or skipping them altogether, even though all his teammates participated 100%. He refused to study game film, believing his raw talent alone would carry him. He threw his first career interception in the first quarter of his first game while trying to force a pass to Andrew Hawkins. The Bengals' Adam Pac-Man Jones picked it off, setting the tone for a disastrous debut. Manziel finished the game 10 of 18 for 80 yards, 2 interceptions, and 0 touchdowns, as the Browns lost 30-0. Meanwhile, the same wild partying that had been brushed off as youthful rebellion in college continued at an even more reckless pace. Photos surfaced of him in nightclubs, surrounded by alcohol, rolling up dollar bills, hinting at even deeper troubles. Coaches and teammates quickly lost faith in him. His erratic behavior didn't inspire confidence, it created doubt. The Browns, initially excited about their first-round pick, soon realized they had made a mistake. Manziel was benched for most of his rookie year. His lack of preparation and focus was making it impossible to trust him as a starter. When he finally got his chance to take the field, it was a disaster. The same instincts that had made him electric in college didn't translate to the NFL, where defensive schemes were faster, smarter, and less forgiving. He scrambled aimlessly, threw ill-advised passes, and looked completely overwhelmed. Instead of recognizing his shortcomings and working to improve, Manziel did the opposite. He continued on partying, drinking harder than ever, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Every week there seemed to be a new controversy. A leaked photo, or an embarrassing moment that made it clear he wasn't taking his career seriously. His name became synonymous with wasted potential. By the end of his first season, he wasn't just struggling, he was now a liability. The Browns had hoped they were getting a franchise quarterback. Instead, they got a walking controversy. And as Manziel's downward spiral continued, it became painfully clear that his time in the spotlight was over. And just one more f***up would finally break that camel's back and get Johnny what he always deserved. By 2016, Johnny Manziel had become more than just a failed quarterback. he was a full-blown spectacle. The same player who had been heralded as a revolutionary talent, the future of dual-threat quarterbacks in the NFL, was now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. His reputation had shifted from Johnny Football to an emblem of wasted potential. His downfall reached a critical point when he failed to show up for the Cleveland Browns' final game of the 2015 season. Yeah, he didn't show up! Instead of preparing with his team, Manziel reportedly went on a bender in Las Vegas, disguising himself in a wig and fake mustache to avoid recognition. The stunt was a fitting metaphor for his career. He was running from responsibility, hiding from the weight of his own choices. The Browns had finally had enough. In March 2016, they cut him, marking the end of his brief and disastrous NFL career. It was a stunning fall from grace. Just a few years prior, Manziel had been considered one of the most electrifying prospects in football. He had all the tools to succeed: a quick release, elite scrambling ability, and an innate playmaking instinct that set him apart from traditional quarterbacks. He had proven his greatness at Texas A&M, winning the Heisman Trophy as a freshman and captivating the sports world with his ability to improvise and dominate on the field. Yet despite all that potential, Manziel simply couldn't get out of his own way. His personal struggles became more public and more troubling. Reports of domestic violence allegations surfaced, further tarnishing his already crumbling image. Around the same time, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a revelation that shed some light on the erratic behavior that had plagued his career since the beginning. Instead of seeking treatment and attempting to right his life, Manziel spiraled deeper into self-destruction. He was repeatedly seen drinking heavily in public, often with a bottle of Jack Daniels in hand, looking lost, out of shape, and nothing like the athlete who had once dominated college football. The media feasted on every misstep, every arrest, every new low. Fans who once worshipped and cheered for him now shook their heads in disbelief. Even his own teammates turned their backs on him. The idea of Johnny Manziel making an NFL comeback became laughable. By 2016, he had gone from a can't-miss talent to a bench warmer, a reminder of how quickly success can slip away when arrogance, addiction, and poor decisions take over. Manziel had all the talent in the world, but he had thrown it away, one bad decision at a time. At just 23 years old, Johnny Manziel was out of the NFL. Johnny Manziel, once the electrifying face of college football, made multiple attempts to revive his career, but each comeback effort only reinforced how far he had fallen. The same quarterback who once commanded national headlines with his dazzling playmaking skills now struggled to find stability in any league that would give him a shot. By 2018, the NFL had all but closed its doors on him, leaving him with no choice but to seek opportunities elsewhere. He signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Canadian Football League, hoping to use it as a stepping stone back to the big stage. However, the experiment was short-lived. After riding the bench for weeks, he was traded to the Montreal Alouettes, where he played just 2 games before being released. His CFL stint ended in disappointment, with the league barring him from future participation due to undisclosed violations of his contract. Sound familiar? Still unwilling to accept that his football dreams were fading, Manziel gave it one more shot in 2019 by signing with the Alliance of American Football, the AAF, a spring league designed to give struggling players a second chance. For a brief moment, it seemed like he might finally find his footing, but before he could establish himself, the league collapsed due to financial instability, leaving him without a team once again. Despite his repeated efforts, the writing was on the wall. The NFL had moved on, and no team was willing to take the risk of bringing him back. The golden boy of college football had become a zero-sum game for every team on earth, the last call for the rise and fall of Johnny Football. Once hailed as a future star, Manziel was just another name in the long list of what could have been. "I threw it all away," he said. Manziel finally admitted what everyone else knew. "I didn't care about the game. I thought I was untouchable. I was an alcoholic, and I destroyed my career. A little too late." But the truth is simple. Johnny Manziel had the talent, but he chose the party over the game. Raw talent, charisma, and a once-in-a-generation ability to light up a football field. But years after his NFL dreams crumbled, he finally admitted the truth that had been obvious to everyone but himself. He never truly cared about the game. In his own words, "I was an alcoholic. Fame came first, and so did the problems. The NFL were no match for the allure of VIP parties, the late nights, and the rush of living without consequences. Football became an afterthought, and a life consumed. By the time he realized he had thrown it all away, it was too late." While he watches the NFL from a distance, reflecting on what might have been, the reality is unshakable. Manziel had all the tools to be great, but when faced with a choice, he picked the party over the game and became known as the worst alcoholic in NFL history. Johnny Manziel's story is a tragic one, But he wasn't the only scandal to rock the NFL. We can only imagine the what-ifs that play in his mind when he watches the NFL today. What if he had taken the game seriously, had surrounded himself with better influences, had listened to the warnings instead of ignoring them? These questions linger, but Manziel has chosen to move forward rather than dwell on the past. Manziel now lives a quiet life, far removed from football. He's spoken openly about his regrets, his battle with mental health and self-destruction, and his wasted potential. While the days of football glory are behind him, he has found a sense of normalcy, something he never had when he was Johnny Football. Whether it's playing casual rounds of golf, spending time with his family, or simply reflecting on the lessons he learned the hard way, he seems at peace with the man he is today. Still, the football world can't help but wonder how different his story might have been. Could Manziel have been a Super Bowl champion? A Hall of Famer? Would he have redefined the NFL? Sad. This should remind the young ones raw talent alone is never enough. What do you think? If Johnny Manziel's rise and fall fascinated you, then click on that cool video that just popped up